negative.
Hello there, my name is Aaron Moss, and this is the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour, presented by Head Speaks. This is an hour-ish long podcast where we'll talk about the Will Payton Starman comic and the Mark Shaw Manhunter comic from the late 80s, early 90s. We'll talk about every appearance of these two great characters. If you've never read them or haven't read them in a while, this may be a good time to explore these issues. Now, let's get started with our first comic.
Hey, Star Hunters. Welcome to the Starman Adventure Show, episode number 47. This is October of 1991. So we're looking at Starman number 41. The cover date of this was December of 1991. The on-sale date, October the 29th, 1991. The cover price, $1. The title of this was called The Final Wager. The writer was Len Szerzginski, penciler John Calamy, inker Roy Richardson, letterer Robert M. Piana, colorist Tom J. McGraw. The editor was the wonderful Paul Kupperberg, and the cover was done by Randy DeBerk. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and look at the actual cover of this issue first of all. So the cover of this one here, we've got let me see. The background, start the background. The background starts out at white, and it goes up through blue to a dark blue on the top. We've got a cowboy neon sign hand from Las Vegas grabbing hold of Starman, and it's pushing him through the Starman cover logo at the top or whatever, breaking it, and so the word Starman is falling down around him. And then just to make sure you know what we're talking about, we've got Starman, it says in the top right-hand corner of the comic. The approved by the Comics Code Authorities kind of falling down also. It's an interesting cover. I don't know if I like it. Starman, I think it's his hair on there. It's kind of what throws it off for me. On this cover, his hair's black. I believe it's supposed to be his hair. It's black and it's really wild and it's stringing out. I don't know. It's something about I think it's the hair is what throwing the cover off. It's an interesting cover. I do like that the hand is pushing Starman up into the cover and messing up the cover, making the Starman logo fall. But it's something about, I think it's Will's hair on here that just kind of distracts me from everything else. Not a bad cover overall. It's got some issues in my opinion. But enough about the cover. Let's go and move on to the comic itself. Our story picks up where it left off last episode. Will Payton is in Las Vegas. There's an alien possessing people and things in Vegas. Last issue ended with Will heading out and the creature possessing all the people around, and buildings started moving. So the first page is a splash page. Will being stampeded by people, and he's going, "They're possessed." The top says The Final Wager. The background, the buildings and everything starting to get all wonky and moving around. Because again, this creature is possessing buildings and making them basically come to life, along with possessing all the people, making them go nutso insane. And I like here on the second page, these guys are all beating down on Will, and he's worried about cutting loose because, again, these are innocent human beings. They get hurt. We're kind of squishy. But then on the second panel of this page, he's like, maybe I feel a little pain and let go. So he sets up some of the heat, and it kind of burns him, making him let go of him. So I do like that Will is, because that's one thing about Will, is that he's always worried about losing humanity, and he's always, he's worried that he's going to turn into an inhuman monster, I guess. Because he's always worried about, he's losing a sense of smell, he's losing the other senses, and he's afraid he's no longer human. And human emotion and human empathy is another thing he doesn't want to let go of. So I do like that this continues Will's personal journey, I guess. Then the next couple pages, Will fighting various buildings and objects in Las Vegas. I like that he blasts this one bird, duck. I'm not quite sure what it is. Looks like maybe a duck. And it explodes. And he says that the glass coming at him, if it goes fast enough or enough force, they can penetrate his skin. So even though he is superhuman and he's got the powers of a star, basically, he is still vulnerable to the right attack. And then we kind of get the scene from the cover. We get the giant cowboy in Vegas, neon sign, grabbing Will and holding on to him until Will breaks the fingers off and gets out. And again, this is some fantastic artwork. I mean, it's got to be hard showing living buildings moving and make it look believable, he says in quotes. But it makes it look as good as they do. I think they're doing a fantastic job on the art on this book. It's fantastic. And finally, one of the buildings is a little more alive than the rest, I guess. And so Will, he's talking to the building. What are you? What are you doing to these people? And then we finally get some information about our villain. He says his name's Maldor the Conqueror, Maldor the Possessor. And the building takes on the face of Maldor here on bottom of page 5. And it's a nice way that it starts forming in the glass. And then we see Maldor's face come out of the building telling Will who he is. And again, Will is concerned about all the people. He's like, let these people go. As he's blasting the building, he's like, let these people go. I'm going to blast you to pieces. And he's like, you could not destroy me. I have possessed a universe. I have conquered galaxies and taken over souls. And he's saying that as he's jumping, or I don't know if he's jumping, or if I guess he's more than likely from what he's talking about. I think he's possessing them all at one time. So his speaking out of different buildings as he totally possesses everything in Vegas almost. And here on the bottom of page 6, Maldor says, he wants power, risk, combat, entertainment. And I like he's saying this to the Four Queens that's on a building. In fact, the name of the building is called the Four Queens. I don't know if that's a real place or not in Vegas. I don't recall seeing that the few times I was there. But again, I didn't go for like 10 years after this, more than that actually. So, and I just looked, and yes, it was it is a actual gambling hotel place in Vegas called the Four Queens. So I wasn't quite sure about that, but yeah. So very nice. I don't know if they went to Vegas to research this, because again, this was back in the early 90s. So we didn't have access to the internet like we do today. So I'm not sure if they went to Vegas, or again, these were adults. Maybe they've been to Vegas several times and it's just me that didn't go to. He's older, but anyways, but no, I do like that. Yeah. They're using actual places and things from Las Vegas in here. I wasn't quite sure about that. So I actually got wondering, is there a Four Queens? Yes, there is. And Will responds to, he's like, here we are in the entertainment capital of the world. It's a fight you want. I'll give you one. Just release these people without killing them. And this is on the top of page 7. I like the look on Will's face. He's got his hand raised and he's kind of electrified. Like, if you want to fight, I'll give you a fight. And so the pink mist leaves all the people and tries to take over Will. And here on bottom of page 7, it's just fantastic. The pink mist going into him, trying to possess our hero. And while it's in there, we got kind of flashback about how, he started conquering galaxies. Life became dull, so he learned how to possess people, use technology or whatever to possess people, until he met the Green Lantern Corps. And here on page 9, we see him fighting John Stewart and Hal Jordan. So again, I'm not familiar with him from the Green Lantern books. I think this is my first introduction to Maldor. So I like this referencing back. I wish they would, again, so they did it this time. I wish they would have had an editor's note or something in here referring us to whatever issues that he fought the Green Lanterns in. That way, if someone wanted to go back and read them, they could. But I do like this pen. I don't know if this was redrawn here or if this page or this scene here where he's fighting the Green Lanterns is taken from the actual Green Lantern book where he appeared. I'm not quite sure about that. And since I'm curious, I got looking up online, and apparently Maldor originally, let me see, it looks like he was originally created in, first appeared in DC Comics Presents 56 in 1983. And according to the DC database, the wiki page on that, he fought Power Girl and Earth-Run Superman. He was believed killed when he attacked the Green Lantern Corps and absorbed most of the cores and the main power battery. Eventually, he was sent back to his dark dimension, and then during the crisis, he was part of a team with the Mirror Master and Icicle that was sent back in time to try to stop Corona's experiment, and he was killed in an explosion, supposedly. And this was a humanoid-looking Maldor, not what we're seeing here. So I'm not sure. I'm just looking online trying to see. This sounds like a reboot of an old character. And yeah, I'm finding on a different page on the comicvine.gamespot.com. It kind of recaps everything we've talked about previously about him. And it says that somehow Maldor survived and encountered the fifth Starman, Will Payton. And apparently in the New 52, Maldor returns once again to fight, encounter Vibe during one of his first solo missions. So, and I remember reading that Vibe book, so I must have read that. I just don't remember him. But anyway, so yeah, Vibe has a somewhat of a long history in the DC universe fighting various heroes. And it looks like, that's what I was going to say, it looks like the Green Lantern was in the Green Lantern Special number 1, I believe it was. Again, according to the dc.fandom.com, it was in Tales of the Green Lantern Corps Annual 1. So that's a little more about Maldor, which I wasn't aware of until I looked it up. But so Maldor's trying to possess Starman, and all of a sudden, Will's kind of pulling on his collar, trying to fight him, showing that he's fighting him. And I like the way that the artist drew Will flying through the air. And even though it's a mental battle, if you will, or a spiritual battle, whatever you want to call it, he does show Will fighting against Maldor, trying to free himself from his influence. So it's very nice. And when Maldor comes out, I guess he is more humanoid looking. It just, in the flashbacks, he looked a little more monstrous, but it may just be the costume with the horns and everything on it. So, and then on page 11, Starman, tells him we'll meet in 2 hours over here and we'll have a battle, and he's like, one of your planet's big events, Earthman? Like something like that. By the way, my name is Starman. And Maldor's all, Starman. I like Starman's like, well, he says it's a humor. And then he goes and tells Carol, to get one out. We've got a plan. You'll pull a fire alarm if you need to. And again, as I've been saying, if Will would just let Carol know who he really is, I think that would make things a lot easier for Will. Again, I'm not a fan of, I saw these CW shows that had, everyone in the world seeming to know who the hero is, but I think it would help if he told Carol who he is. At least it'd make it easier with them. And of course, then again, I still want them to be a couple, but nothing wrong against Kitty or, anyone else he's been with, but I like him and Carol. I think him and Carol make a good couple. But anyways, that's another point entirely. And then they're outside the building when Maldor shows up, calling Starman out. Starman, the appointed time has come. And Will's like, I've got to go. I'll explain later. And all of a sudden, Starman shows up. And again, she's like, Starman again? And you would think at some point, and again, I know I love the superhero secret identity thing. It's part of comics. But sometimes, like in this case here, it tends to be pushing it. Starman's, or Will's like, I'll be right back. And Starman flies into the scene. You would think Carol might figure out who he is. Again, I'm not going to play too much because, again, that is part of the superhero secret identity shtick is, I got to get out. I got to go do something. And then the hero shows up. But you do it around people that know you. Even though, and again, I guess in Will's defense, Will and Starman do look different. So, I mean, there is that going for me. Much more than Clark and Superman. So there is that going for him that makes it, well, they don't look anything alike, so why wouldn't you think that? But I don't know. And I don't think he's gone public with all of his powers, so everyone may not know that he can shapeshift and change his appearance. So I don't know. I'm just complaining, I think. Because again, I like the story. Don't get me wrong. and it's pretty much, what you expect. But I don't know. Sometimes, I've been reading these for so many decades. I start to see the other side once in a while. But I like when he shows up, Maldor's like, I want this quickly. I want to possess your body with as little damage as possible. And Starman's all, don't hire the movers yet, Maldor. And I love the splash page on page 13, where Starman just socks him and Maldor goes flying down, crushing the ground, breaking it. And then the next couple pages is just a big battle scene between him and Maldor, each of them spouting their quips, Starman using his star powers to light things up. And again, as he says, as Maldor says here, he's walked in the center of stars. I have been a star. You cannot defeat me. And as Will's fighting, Starman's realizing how powerful Maldor is. But then he's also like, well, the Lanterns have defeated him. The Lanterns have stopped him. What did they do? And as they're fighting, I forget the guy's name, the client that they're working for, he's complaining that they're wrecking this building. And again, I know a lot of people complain about in Man of Steel more recently that, Superman fought Zod and the Kryptonians and destroyed large parts of Metropolis. And then Smallville. But again, I didn't have so much a problem with that because, again, that is the trope for superhero comics, that there's a lot of public damage when these two powerful, or sometimes more than two, powerful beings start beating up on each other. There is a lot of collateral damage, a lot of buildings. I know myself, sometimes I get tired of when it's so much destruction. Like in Man of Steel, there was a lot of destruction in Metropolis. And I understand there's got to be some because they're fighting in a huge city, and sometimes it's not possible to get the villain out. But sometimes just all that destruction, it seems like they're destroying things just for the sake of destroying things, which gets to me. It just weighs too heavy on me, I guess. And maybe it's I'm getting older, I don't know. But I don't mind so much some destruction because, again, that's as we're seeing here. Starman, much like Superman was in Man of Steel, is a relatively newer hero. I mean, Starman's been around... Well, it's been 40 issues, so that's been several years real time, but it's not been that long in comic book time. So, like I said, much like Superman was a Man of Steel, they're both relative. In fact, I think probably Man of Steel's Superman was a newer hero than Starman is at this point, and they're still doing a lot of destruction in the city. So, it's something that happens. But Will finally realizes that there was something about the mix of colors that creates the green light that caused them to discorporate. So he does that, causing Maldor to kind of explode, if you will. It turns into the pink mist, which Starman does kind of a Superman move, it looks like, and spins in a circle, gathering up all the pink mist and takes it out into space where it can't reform. And we see it drifting off. And he's like, well, I don't think we'll be smelling Maldor again, as we see him drifting towards the moon, it looks like. I know Will's, again, as I was just talking about, Will's a relatively newer hero, but Maldor, when he first encountered him, was in this pink mist, and he was able to reform himself and take over things. So I don't know if Will thought this out. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think Will fights Maldor again, because, again, we've only got, as I've said previously, we've only got, 4 more issues of this series left before it's canceled. So I don't think Maldor shows up anymore. In fact, I don't know if anyone uses Maldor after this. Nothing I've seen online indicates that he's maybe made a reappearance. But this ending hints that maybe there may be a reappearance from somewhere in the future, the way he just says, I don't think we smell him again, as we see it drifting towards the moon. It makes me wonder if the writer had something planned, or if Straczynski planned on using him again, or what the thought process in that ending was. But it's the ending of that battle, not the ending of the story. Like I said, we get Carol talking to Stan, the guy that owns the building, their client. Guy's complaining that, the building's ruined. It's going to take a lot of money. He's like, oh, don't you have insurance? Yeah, I got insurance. Business interruption and property replacement costs? Yeah, sure, all of that. She's like, that means you can get the building condemned. Your insurance company will build you a new, nice casino and cover your expenses until it's complete. Is that what it all means? Uh-huh. I'll rebuild better than before. I'll put a 5-story statue right here and a 40-foot fountain. And Carol's like, and you'll need a whole new promotional campaign. So again, I like Carol. She's very much, when life hands you lemons, she makes pink lemonade and lemon delight. It's a dessert my wife makes from her family. Delicious. But that's another story entirely. But yeah, so Carol's able to take, make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, as they say. Or maybe they don't say that anymore. Maybe just because I'm old. And then we cut to Carol talking to Will, explaining, basically what was going on. Meanwhile, Will's staring at the wall, thinking. Apparently, he's going to name the new hotel the Phoenix. Again, as it was last year, they talked about the Phoenix rising from the ashes and all that. And as they're packing up, he's like, Carol, wait a minute. She said, what's the matter? He's like, I've got something to explain to you. He's like, sure, ruined my big moment. We're on the verge of $1 million account, and you want to chat. Okay, what? You need more money? If it's a raise, you got it. And finally, he's doing what I've been saying all along. I just said a little bit ago because I knew he was going to do it, but I've been saying it all along that he needs to reveal his identity. At this point, he takes his shirt off. He's not about the money, Carol. It's about me. About why I've been so unreliable, always disappearing, acting strangely. You see, I'm Starman. As he takes his shirt off, showing the Starman costume, she's like, Starman? The Starman? Will Payton, a Starman? And she starts laughing. He's like, hey, what's so funny? So I do like that he finally revealed who he is to her, because again, I've been saying that. It would help them out so much for her to know, in my opinion. So I'm glad that he's finally showed who he really is to her, but I'm sad that it's near the end of the series, because we're not going to get a lot back from this, I don't think. Again, I haven't reread the series in decades, so there may be more to it, but I don't know we're going to get much more in the next 4 issues of their relationship. And relationships in quotation marks. That was air quotes. But again, a great story. I like Maldor as a villain. I don't recall him. I know I've seen him elsewhere. I've had to because of some of the references I looked at, but I don't recall offhand. But yeah, I like Maldor. He's a good villain. Starman did a good job. I like that. But that's the end of this issue. What do you guys think? Send me an email to starman@headspeaks.com. Again, send me an email to starman@headspeaks.com. Let me know what you think. You can also call and leave a message on the voicemail line. The Headcast voicemail line is 559-500-3182. Again, our phone number is area code 559-500-3182. You can call there, leave a message. Let me know what you think about the show, what about this issue, about the series in particular up to this point. And you can also visit Patreon. And if you like what we're doing here, we're at patreon.com/headcastnetwork.com. You can join in there and throw a few bucks in the tin to help us out. You can join the other big spenders over there, like Sean Adams and Big Danny Cool, who are our big top spenders over at Patreon. And we also got other people, such as Bill Bear, who's not quite spending as much, but he does helping us out. Or there's also Gene Hendricks. You can join them all by going to patreon.com/headcastnetwork and throwing a few bucks in the tin if you like what I'm doing here. That helps me out. Bare minimum, if you don't want to do that, if you don't have the money or whatever, go ahead and share, like the show. That helps out. Let people know about the show, even though it's ending. Let people know that we're still here for now. And the other shows on the Headcast Network. You can check us out at headcast.headspeaks.com. Again, headcast.headspeaks.com for all my shows. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to play some promos, some friends of the show. And I'll probably throw a Coffee and Comics promo in there. Plus, we'll see what else I throw in there. I don't know. We'll throw some promos, and we'll be right back with Coppa Comics Comic Crack.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
The Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour will be back after these messages.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
And his name is
A damn fine cup of coffee.
Do you enjoy comic books? Do you perhaps enjoy reading said comics while also consuming a tasty beverage? Well, hello, my friend. I am the caffeinated Clinton Robinson, and I invite you to join me on the Coffee and Comics podcast, where I look at a random comic roughly in the span of time it takes to have a nice little coffee break. So if you enjoy casual comics discussion and references potentially even more dated and randomly strung together than the ones in this promo, be sure to check out the Coffee and Comics podcast, available on all the most brewtastic podcast apps.
Drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Hey, where are all my comic books?
Hey everybody, Michael Bailey here with a trailer announcing the return of It All Comes Back to Superman. Well, sort of the return of It All Comes Back to Superman. Desperate to stay relevant and chase those sweet, sweet podcasting dollars, I've decided that since all of the shows on the Fortress of Baileytude Podcasting Network are moving to a new hosting platform, that I would start It All Comes Back to Superman over with a new number one and name. So really, this is a trailer for the sort of new, pretty much the same as before,
It All Comes Back to Superman Series 2.
It All Comes Back to Superman Series 2 will be... It's gonna be... Oh, God. Are you hearing this music that's playing right now? In all honesty, I chose it because I thought it had a good trailer feel, but the more I'm sitting here listening to it, the more it sounds like something... You know what it sounds like? It sounds like something you would hear in the background of a motivational video your job made you watch that is full of corporate jargon and buzzwords and useless affirmations trying to convince you that working there is some freaking higher calling. Or, you know what else it sounds like? It sounds like it would be behind an ad on YouTube that is trying to sell you something that is supposedly life-altering, but in reality is at best useless, and at worst dangerous, and probably should be illegal. Yeah, you know what? I'm done with this music. Yeah, it's over. I'm just gonna go with the music I've licensed for the show. I should have just done that from the beginning. There. That's better. Anyway, It All Comes Back to Superman Series 2 will be pretty much like the first series, just with a convenient new numbering system. Episodes will be erratic at first, because it's me, but hopefully by the end of 2024 they should be released on a regular basis. Some episodes will be one-and-dones. Some will be part of rolling series with names like The Earth 2 Superman Files, and Close Maketh the Villain, the superpowered makeovers of Lex Luthor and Brainiac. There might even be holiday specials every once in a while, as well as episodes from the previous feed making their way over to the new one, just to kind of freshen them up a bit. No matter the subject, movies, comics, action figures, prose, the show will be all about my love and fandom for the greatest fictional character ever created.
It All Comes Back to Superman Series 2.
Part of the Fortress of Baileytude Podcasting Network. Available through Libsyn on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and other pod-catching platforms. Show notes and other bits and bobs will still be available on posts over at www.fortressofbaileytude.com.
To tell you the story of Green Lantern is to tell you the story of the birth of a universe. The origins of DC as a whole.
It's a magic emerald meteor from space in the 1940s.
It's the establishment of the JSA.
It's the birth of the Silver Age.
It's the introduction of a universal police force.
It's the formation of the JLA.
It's the emergence of the multiverse.
It's a crisis in both space and time.
It's an emerald dawn.
And it's an emerald twilight.
It's the brightest day.
And the blackest night.
And the Lantern cast covers all of this and everything in between. We're Green Lantern's greatest advocates and fiercest critics. We've been fans for years, and it's the reason we're self-proclaimed Lanternologists.
So find us on iTunes and Stitcher and give us a listen. Because the history of Green Lantern really is the history of the DC Universe. And we've got the interviews, commentaries, reviews, and more to back it up.
our show.
Since I mentioned Green Lantern and Superman during this past segment, I figured it's fitting to have promos for both of those shows. Plus, a friend of the network, Clinton Robinson, had a new promo for his Coffee and Comics blog, so I figured I'd throw that in there also. Or Coffee and Comics podcast. Started off as a blog. Anyways, enough about the promos. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Here is
Copy Comics Comic Rack.
So again, for those that may be just joining in for the first time, go back and listen to the first episodes. But anyways, Copy Comics Comic Rack. Copy Comics is the name of the comic shop I went to for years. It was located in Merced, California, ran by Lonnie and Ann Cox. Originally, Lonnie had a shop with a couple other guys. They all ended up breaking up, doing their own things. And Lonnie kept the new comics. So I started going to his shop, and I went there for years buying my new comics until I stopped buying. So I got out of comics, at least buying new comics. I'd read them online or borrow friends or whatever. But that's where the name comes from. And we're looking at all the comics came out the same month that this comic came out. So we're looking at all the comics. Well, again, not all the comics. I'm going to Mike'sAmazingWorld.com. It's a great website. A lot of us podcasters use it. Unfortunately, Mike, the guy that started the website, has passed away. And I haven't seen any updates to the site recently, so I don't know if they're not keeping it up or they're just going to stay as is. But Mike Bowles did a great site archiving a lot of these comic books, the covers, and various information from it. So that's what I'm using for this point to pull this information. And again, it's not every comic that came out this month, but it's the ones that mean something to me or that I wanted to mention. So let's get started. First comic I'm going to mention is Action Comics 671. This was written by Roger Stern. Mike Carlin was the editor. I met Mike at the Comic-Con a couple of times. Good guy. In fact, I've got a little sketch he did of Superman and a signature on a comic backing board because I wanted something. I didn't have a Superman comic with me or anything he worked on, but I had some backing boards, so I had him sign one of those for me. In fact, I've got it right here. I've got it in a frame to hang up, but I haven't gotten that far since I've redone The Office. But anyways, that's another story entirely. This was part of the Blackout storyline that ran through the Superman titles. I was really enjoying Superman at the time. The Triangle era, in my opinion, was the best era of Superman. So more on Superman. There's a couple places you can check out. One of them I just played a promo for. It all comes back to Superman. And Mike has another show that covered this time period of Superman's comics. It was called From Crisis to Crisis, a Superman podcast. Check that out if you haven't listened to it. Mike does a great job on podcasting. He's one of my role models, one of my mentors, one of the guys that helped get me started podcasting. Thanks, Mike. Also this month, I'm going to mention, I didn't read the comics. I got the first issue or two, but since I play it on every Saturday night with my son, and then we're playing Friday nights with my wife and some other people we met online, there was Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, issue 35. There was Adventures of Superboy 21. This was based on the TV show that was out around this time. Also this month was Adventures of Superman 485. This also was part of the Blackout storyline. Looks like this was part 5. This one was written by Jerry Ordway, magnificent writer and artist and creator all around. I love Jerry Ordway's work. And also on this was the plotter, Dennis Janke, and the penciler was Tom Grummett, who I adore also. I love his artwork. So fantastic work all the way around. Also this month was Amazing Spider-Man 355. This was part of the Round Robin storyline. It had Night Thrasher, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, the Punisher crossing over. Spider-Man? It was a Spider-Man book, so I'm just reading here what's on the cover. Moon Knight, Night Thrasher, and Punisher was also joined in on this. This was a great era of Spider-Man also. I was enjoying all the Spider-Man books. They were loosely tied together, but not as much as the Superman books were. It looks like they tried doing it, but they just didn't quite manage to get quite the tie-in that Marvel was doing with Superman. Also this month was Amazing Spider-Man 356, another part of the Round Robin storyline. This cover had Moon Knight and Night Thrasher, and also had an inset box Punisher and Nova. So this was, I forget the details of it, but it was time for Spider-Man to get some guest stars in his books. Also this month, I didn't have this one, but there was The Amazing Spider-Man, The Wedding, the trade paperback. Moving on, Animal Man 42. Animal Man, again, I was still reading it this time, but it wasn't as good as what it came previously, in my opinion. But I do mention Animal Man over on my Task Force X podcast, where this month I was looking at the War of the Gods crossover, and Animal Man shows up in the main books, and Suicide Squad has a deal in it. So we talk a little bit about War of the Gods over in Task Force X, and I mentioned Animal Man. Aquaman #1, he had a new book out. This one was written by Sean McLaughlin with pencils by Ken Hooper and inks by Bob Dovrak. I was picking this one up. I enjoyed this Aquaman series. I enjoyed most of Aquaman series on and off, but I remember picking up this one as it came out. Also this month, we're going to skip over the Archie books. Armageddon, Alien Agenda #1. This takes place after Armageddon 2001, and it's got Hawk, a.k.a. Monarch, and Captain Atom fighting through time. I talk about this one a little bit over on my Head Speaks podcast. After I finished up with the Armageddon 2001, we briefly talked about the Alien Agenda. It was a 4-issue miniseries. It wasn't bad overall. Avengers 342 came out this month. Again, I was buying Avengers. I was enjoying it. Good title. Also was Avengers West Coast 77. Another title I was buying at this point. Again, I wasn't buying it, but just to mention it, Back to the Future #2. Some Barbie had some books out, of course. Batman 472 came out this month, being written by Peter Milligan, and the artist was Norm Brayfogle. Good book. I was enjoying Batman at the time, so I was buying that, of course. Batman Judge Dredd, Judgment on Gotham #1. I'd pick that one up. Some Betty and Veronica and just Betty by Herself books. Bill and Ted's Excellent Comic Book #1. I don't remember if I got that one, but I enjoyed the movie, so I figured I'd mention that one also. Black Hood #1 over at Impact Comics, part of their superhero line they were starting out with. I skipped this one, Black Canary #2. I bought that when it came out. Black Canary had her own, I believe this was a series, if I'm not mistaken. Brave and the Bold #1. This was like a 6 or 8 issue series by Mike Grell and Mike Barron. I enjoyed this. It had Green Arrow, The Butcher, and The Question crossing over. I seem to remember enjoying this story, or the storyline, this series. Also this month was Captain America 395. Looks like Thor was in this issue. I was buying Captain America at the time, being written by Mark Grunwald. Great writer, great story, great series. Also this month was, skip over the Caspers, all these independent books I didn't get. I'm just going to mention it because I like the movie Child's Play. This was Child's Play 3, #2. There's also Clive Barker's Hellraiser #9, plus Clive Barker's Hellraiser poster book #1. I got all those. Back over at Impact Comics, Comet #5 came out this month. Also this month was the Complete Spider-Man #13. This looks like it was a UK book. It looks like it probably reprinted other Spider-Man stories. I wasn't in UK, so I didn't get that one, so I didn't see it. Some Conan books we're just going to skip over. Daredevil #299. It's got the city on fire with Kingpin in the background watching a pond. It's part of the Last Right storyline. I believe I was picking up Daredevil at this point, and I seem to remember this cover. And again, Daredevil is one of those I pick up on and off, and I enjoy it for the most part. Also this month was Dark Hawk #10. This was a newer book. There's only 10 issues in. I was enjoying Dark Hawk. I thought it was a good series. Deathlock #6. He meets up with the Punisher. Good series. I enjoyed that one. Deathstroke the Terminator #5. This was part of the Titans in continuity story. Titans had a tight continuity going on at this point. Marv Wolfman was writing this, Titans, Team Titans, and all those. So he had his own little universe going on. And for the most part, I was enjoying Deathstroke. Again, my nickname at the internet company I used to work for was Big Perv, so I've got to mention Debbie Does Dallas #7. I didn't have the book, but I just need to mention it. Demon #18. This is being written by Alan Grant. I enjoyed The Demon. I thought it was a good series. Got a little weird at times, but it's Alan Grant and the Demon. What do you expect? I didn't get this one, but the Destroyer trade paperback. I wasn't aware of this, but I had read some of the novels later on. I was introduced to the Destroyer novels. It's kind of like a Punisher type book, if I remember right. I enjoyed the Destroyer, the novels I read. Moving on, Detective Comics 638. I was enjoying, again, I already mentioned I enjoyed Batman, so I enjoyed that. Disney had several books out. We're going to skip over them. Dr. Fate number 34, another good title. This was a William Messner Loeb's joint. I was enjoying it. I think this was still probably the Inza Dr. Fate. And yeah, this was after War of the Gods, because the cover says War of the Gods is over. Now it's Jillian's turn? Whoever that is, I don't remember offhand, but I know I was reading Dr. Fate at the time. Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme number 36 was out. Doom Patrol number 49. Moving on from there, Excalibur number 45. As I've talked about previously, this was a Billy book that at some point I started buying on my own. Again, for those that may be joining in for the first time, a Billy book. Back in the days when I started getting into comics, a friend of mine, Billy Tevnan, was also getting into comics. And we both go to Cop Comics together and buy our books. Some we would buy the same book, some I would buy, and some he would buy, and we share books. To save us a little money, we'd share back and forth for a while. Until life intervened and we stopped hanging out as much. So that's another story entirely for a different time. Fantastic Four number 359 came out this month. I was loving Fantastic Four. Thought it was a great era in my opinion. Your mileage may vary. Also this month was The Flash number 57. The Flash was fighting against the Icicle, it looks like. Again, another William Messner Loeb's book. I was enjoying The Flash. The pre-Mark Waid stuff, some people didn't care for as much. Your mileage may vary, but I was enjoying The Flash. Back over Impact Comics, there was The Fly, number 4. And I forget how long I bought, but I know I did buy some of these Impact Comics. I just forget how far along I went before I stopped. Again, big fan of Freddy Krueger, so I didn't buy him, but I bought some of them, some I didn't. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare number 3, and also Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare 3D number 1. Got to mention those because of Freddy. Love Freddy Krueger. Also this month was G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero number 119. For more on G.I. Joe, this one looks like the writer, artist, and colorist, according to Mike's Amazing World, was Herb Trimpe. Herb was a classic original artist for G.I. Joe. It looks like he's back. And it looked like he took over the writing detail this month. For more on G.I. Joe, check out my other show, G.I. Joe, A Real American Headcast, here on this very network. Ghost Rider number 20 came out this month. Green Arrow number 54. I was buying that, or that may have been a Billy book at the time. Eventually I started buying it, I know. This was by Mike Grell. For more on Green Arrow and everything by Mike Grell, check out Warlord Worlds, another great podcast that can be found out there on the intertubes. Green Lantern number 10. This one here had Alan Scott Returns, it looks like. I know I was buying this, but I do not remember the details of it. But again, I did play a promo earlier for some a Green Lantern podcast. Check that out. Also this month was Guardians of the Galaxy number 19. As I mentioned every month, I enjoyed this version of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm not going to say that this is what I wanted the movie to be, but this is what I wanted the movies to be. Anyways, Hawkworld number 18, continuation of the rebooted Hawkman universe in the current DC universe. The Human Target special number 1. I picked this up around the same time. There was also, I guess it's coming soon. It says on the cover, coming soon to ABC TV. Yeah, there was a TV, I think it was just a pilot that they did starring Rick Springfield, I want to say, as the Human Target. I enjoyed this book, and I think I remember enjoying the TV movie or whatever it was, pilot or whatever it was. Incredible Hulk number 388. This was being written by Peter David. This, again, was part of the Professor version of the Hulk, which I really loved. I think my favorite version of the Hulk. Infinity Gauntlet number 6 over at Marvel. Again, more Infinity goodness. This time frame, there's a lot of Infinity stuff going on at Marvel. That was, and it would go away and it comes back years later as movies. Iron Man 276. Looks like he's fighting the Mandrian. Also this month, back over at Impact Comics, was the Jaguar number 5. Some Jughead books we're just going to skip over. Over on the Justice League front, there was Justice League America 57, Just League Europe 32, and Just League Quarterly number 5. This Max Lord returns with the Extremists, Giffen DeMatteis as usual. And in Just League Europe, looks like Flash and Blue Beetle are facing off against some. Oh, this is part of the breakdowns. So yeah, this was part of the breakdown. In fact, both of these was part of the breakdown storyline where they were kind of destroying the Just League as it was to rebuild it in something different. For more on, did I mention Just League Quarterly number 5? I think I did. Again, for more on Justice League, check out friend of the show, the Irredeemable Shags, JLI Wahaha podcast. Legion 91 number 34. This one had Lobo on the cover. Enjoyed Legion at the time, as I've talked about previously. More Impact Comics. There was Legends of the Shield number 6. Back at DC, there was Legends of the Dark Knight 24, plus the first annual. Again, as I've said previously, Legends of the Dark Knight at this point was an out-of-continuity series that eventually became in continuity when they brought the Venom drug into actual continuity. A lot of continuity. Legion of Superheroes number 24, and also annual number 2. Again, this was all the 5 years later. Legion one was darker and not as many code names and costumes, but still enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. Also this month, there was, let's see, I'm skimming through the list. Mark Spector Moon Knight number 33. Looks like the Hobgoblin and the black suit Spider-Man's in this one. I do not recall what was going on here, but I know Spider-Man was out of the black suit at this time, so I'm not sure if this was a flashback or what's going on here, but I was buying Moon Knight. I was enjoying it. Also this month, Marvel Tales featuring Spider-Man number 256. This again was a reprint title. I remember reading my friend Peter Pastor's issues sometimes. This was Marvel Tales, had Ghost Rider in it. This was reprinted from Marvel Team Up number 91. Also this month, the Mighty Thor number 440 and 441. The 440 had the Thor War and now the Thor Corps. It had Beta Ray Bill, and I can't see what was on the cover offhand, but I was buying Thor at the time. Again, as I've said, Thor is one of those that I come in and out of. I'll read it for a while and I'll get tired of it and I'll stop reading it. Much like Namor the Submariner, number 21. And I will not get into how annoyed I was with him in the what was it, Black Panther 2 movie. Didn't care for the changes, but it is what it is. Back to the Teen Titans universe, New Titans number 81. This was crossing over with the War of the Gods. Had Pariah in it. And oh God, if I cover the Titans, I'm going to have to cover this again. Maybe more detail too, because they're more involved. Anyways, New Titans. I loved the book. Not a fan of War of the Gods as I've talked about, but we'll have to cover that again some other time. New Warriors number 18. Was enjoying New Warriors. For more New Warriors, I know the Delve in the Dark Web and Jared, what is he? Jared, the art cell artist. They have a podcast on the New Warriors, which they stream once a month also as they record it. Check that out over on the Longbox Network. Longbox Crusade Network. Just to throw it out there, I had bought the first issue. I think that was it. NFL Super Pro. It was a comic, so I bought the first issue because I'm addicted. But, you know, it is what it is. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 30. He says, moving on. Nightmare on Elm Street number 2. I had some of those. In fact, I think I still have some of them. Just throw it out there. The official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Master Edition number 13. I had some of these. I don't think I bought the whole series. The original Ghost Rider Rides Again, number 6. That I did buy. Moving on from there, there was Punisher number 56, 57, plus the War Journal number 37. I was buying the Punisher. Again, this was during my Punisher phase. I was enjoying it. Quasar number 29. I was buying this at the time. This version has a pregnant Quasar. It's kind of a take on, I think it was like a Vogue or some other magazine that had a pregnant woman on it. I think it was probably Demi Moore, maybe. I forget now who it was. But apparently Quasar was pregnant at this point. I vaguely remember, but I don't remember the details. It's been a minute. But more on Quasar. Check out I believe it's now defunct Quantum Cast by friends of the show, Gene Hendricks and Joe Fishman, where they talked about Quasar. It was a good podcast. I don't listen to podcasts anymore, just don't have time, but I enjoyed that one. The question Quarterly number 4. Ragman number 3 came out from DC Comics. Moving on from there, some Richie Rich books, of course. Robin 2, number 1. This was his second miniseries. And there was a half a dozen covers for that one. RoboCop number 22, I wasn't buying it, but it is what it is. Let me see what else was there. There was Sensational She-Hulk 34 with She-Hulk posing with a volleyball, green volleyball, and she's posing almost naked, much like the Quasar cover that making fun or homaging another covers I talked about. I didn't realize they came out in the same month. Shade the Changing Man 18. Again, just mentioning that one. I think I'd probably stopped it by this point, but it's there. Silver Surfer number 60. Again, I was buying the Silver Surfer. I was enjoying it for the most part. Another new series, Sleepwalker number 7, back over at Marvel. Well, we're still at Marvel. Sleepwalker number 7. I was enjoying Sleepwalker. That was another new hero. Spectacular Spider-Man 183. It's got Peter fighting Green Goblin on his glider flying through the air. Always love those. Also, Spider-Man number 17. This was the Todd McFarlane book. It looks like it's changed hands, so that means McFarlane's went over to Image. Spider-Man Saga number 2. Some Star Trek books as usual. Starman number 41, which we just talked about. Suicide Squad 59. This starts the Mystery of the Atom story, which I will be talking about next month over on Task Force X. The Mystery of the Atom and the Suicide Squad. Check it out over on Task Force X. Also, we had Superman number 62 and Superman the Man of Steel number 6. These were both parts of the Blackout storyline running through the Superman books. Also this month, there was Toxic Avenger number 9 was still going. It's still a thing. Some Transformers Marvel UK books. It stopped by this point in America. Uncanny X-Men 283. This had Bishop on it. In fact, this may have been the first appearance of Bishop. The cover says Bishop's Crossing. So I want to say this is probably the first appearance of Bishop. Also this month, we're getting down near the end of the books. There was The Web, number 4 over at Impact. But back over at Marvel, there was The Web of Spider-Man number 83. Again, written by Kurt Busiek. I love that. What If, number 32. This was What If Phoenix had not died. I enjoyed What If. It was a great series, in my opinion. Who's Who in the DC Universe, number 14. Again, for more on Who's Who, check out Robin Shagg's Who's Who in the DCU podcast. Wolverine, number 49. Also this month, there was Wonder Man, number 4. I think it's probably like a 4-issue miniseries, I want to say. Wonder Man has an upcoming series coming out, which I don't know about yet. I guess it's the Ultimate Wonder Man, which I'm not familiar with. So, X Factor number 73, all new, all different X Factor. So I believe this is when Peter David took over and they changed it from the original X-Men to a new team of characters. Previous X-Men that's joined up with some new characters. X-Force number 5 came out. X-Men number 3. And X-Men Classic number 66. Again, X-Men Classic was a reprint book. This one reprinted Uncanny X-Men 162. So those are the books that came out that I had wanted to draw attention to in the month of October of 1991. Let me know what you think. Did you read any of them? Did you like them? Did I miss anything that you wanted me to talk about? Send me an email to copacomics@headspeaks.com. Again, you can reach me at copacomics@headspeaks.com. Let me know what you thought about this episode of Copy Comics Spinner Rack. And that's going to do it for this month, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Join us next month as we get closer to the end of the Starman Adventure Show. 4 more episodes to go. Until next time, remember, Star Hunters, keep looking to the stars.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. Please join us next month for another great, fantastic episode as we cover another issue of the Will Payton Starman series and the Mark Shaw Manhunter series. Keep in mind that these podcasts are not affiliated or endorsed by DC Comics. I'm just a fanboy who loves these comics and wants to spread these love with everyone else out there and just talk about them. Again, you can email us at smah@headspeaks.com, or you can go to our blog, which is at starman-manhunter.headspeaks.com. You can also go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. No spaces, all one word. But once again, thank you very much for joining us. Until next episode, this is Aaron Moss saying, see you in the funny pages.